Hi, psych students. This is Mrs. Politsky, and today we're going to talk a little bit about something that's sometimes referred to as subfields in psychology, but as your textbook kind of refers to it as fields of psychology. And what we're going to talk about are like different areas that people study psychology that could possibly lead to different careers. So we're going to break this into two different parts. We're going to take a look at the first part, which is basically 1 through roughly 8 or 9, and then we'll do the second half in another video. So let's talk a little bit about our first item, clinical psychologist. These are individuals who diagnose and treat the most severe problems of the clinical population. These are individuals who need possibly inpatient care in a hospital or in an institution. Okay, they may also use regular outpatient therapy through different mental health clinics. And I know in Nebraska, we only have a handful of hospitals that are actually designated psych wards or have psych wards. Close to us, Faith Regional in Norfolk has one of these. If you're in the Omaha metro area, that would be Emmanuel Hospital. But when we talk about outpatient care, a lot of your larger communities like Norfolk and Columbus and Fremont and Omaha, Lincoln, all offer some type of outpatient care. Number two, counseling psychologists. These are individuals who provide guidance and also therapy to normal individuals. These are individuals who do not have mental health problems, but they may have adjustment problems. Perhaps maybe they're transitioning a job. Maybe they are preparing for marriage or perhaps even divorce. These are the individuals who may work with them to help them resolve those issues. Number three, developmental psychologists. These are individuals who study the changes in psychology that function as an organism, for the most part, grows and ages. A lot of times people talk about this as perhaps maybe being a lifespan. I like to talk about it as womb to tomb type of psychology because we're looking at an individual at basically at conception all the way through their passing. It focuses on the influences of behavior and mental processes that change basically as an individual again is conceived and up to the time that they reach old age or death. Number four, educational psychologists. These are individuals who are experts in the processes of teaching and learning. Educational psychologists are really good at trying to teach teachers how to teach. They conduct applied research, which basically means that when they're doing their research, it's hands on and it's research that, for the most part, is kind of ongoing. It's not necessarily always in a lab setting, though it could possibly be like a learning lab, but they try to identify questions and provide answers primarily to teachers so that they can become better at their jobs. Human factor psychologist. This was once called engineering psychology or psychologist. They explore how people and machines interact, how machines and the physical environments can be made safe and easy to use. If you've ever looked at the instrument panels of cars or trucks or maybe even farm equipment, you'll see the work of engineering psychologist or the human factor psychologist. All the warnings that you see on heavy equipment, a lot of that has been placed there because of these human factor psychologists. They conduct research on how people work best with their machines. So they may look at seat adjustments, maybe where things are on an instrument panel, in hopes that maybe they can make people more efficient, maybe making things safer. So, for example, how can a computer be designed to prevent fatigue and eye strain? They may look into that. Um, what arrangement of an assembly line makes production most efficient? They may experiment with that. Most human factor psychologists work in industry, so they are in the business field for the most part. But some are employed by the government, particularly the Department of Defense, and they do work with our members of the armed forces, looking at some of the equipment that they use. forensic psychologist. They apply psychological principles to legal issues. Their expertise is often essential, for the most part, in the courts or the courtroom. They can, for example, help a judge decide whether or which parent should have custody of a child, or to evaluate a defendant's mental competence to stand trial. Forensic psychologists, they may also be working with police agencies, or like in our state, maybe the state patrol. They may help as far as gathering information for an investigation at a crime scene, or trying to find individuals who might be part of a crime ring. Number 7, health psychologist. This has kind of emerged as a special focus on psychological processes involved in wellness and illness, both physically and psychogenically. And psychogenic, we're talking about mind and genetics, and how that might have a factor on maybe somebody's state of wellness. Does someone have a predisposition for stress or heart attacks or cancer? Health psychologists, they study stress and depression to see how they play a part in the development of physical ailments, such as ulcers, skin diseases, stomach disorders, and again, cancer. All right. IO, or sometimes known as industrial organizational psychologists, they also apply psychological principles to research methods in the workplace in the interest of improving productivity and the quality of work life. They may serve as human resource specialists, as far as like trying to know which people should be working together, who to hire. They help organizations with staffing, training, employee development, management, in such areas as strategic planning. That's like long-term planning for perhaps maybe a company or organization. Quality management, like how to work best with people, and with coping with organizational changes. So if a business is downsizing or expanding or moving, IO psychologists would be right there. Number 9, biological, or sometimes referred to as neuropsychologist or psychology. They explore the relationship between the brain and the brain systems, and also behavior. They might study the way the brain creates and stores memories, and how various diseases and injury of the brain affect emotion, perception, and behavior. Kind of going back to perception. Perception is how we kind of see things, how we perceive. Okay, they may frequently help design tasks to study normal brain functions with new imaging techniques, such as positron emission tomography, or sometimes known as PET scans. Here we go. Or single photon emission tomography, aka the SPEC, and maybe the function magnetic resonance imaging, or aka the fMRI. Neuropsychologists also assess and treat people in order to help them live productive lives. So perhaps in our area, hospitals like Madonna Rehabilitational Center, or hospitals, they have on staff neuropsychologists that work primarily with patients who have had some form of brain injury, and they may determine whether or not a person is, suffering from some type of maybe brain damage, or whether or not they are progressing maybe in their rehabilitation. So in this day and age, when we talk about like football and concussions and any kind of sport and concussions, neuropsychologists obviously are right there on the cutting edge. All right. Thank you very much.